Hello everybody, it's Nacho Thomas again, and we're going to follow on with the workflow with Nuke, working with EXRs. In this second part, we're going to start off by merging two images and watching what can happen if we don't take a look at the channels. We might lose channels, and it's something we have to take a look, just how to merge, for example, two images in this case. Then we'll learn to rename layers and channels, basically to be able to recycle all the information or construct a workflow in Nuke using always the same names. And then we start to prepare a preset and write an EXR for our pipeline. So let's start where we left it on the last step. We had built two images referring to the roots, and this was done basically in V-Ray using one of the V-Ray cool stuff, which is the V-Ray sphere fade, which is basically that you can render just the background and then render the foreground. Just you decide a sphere and then you render just the sphere, so you get this animated. You have, for example, animated GI, shadows, etc., but you just render what you need. So we are going to join both of them. So if I grab this one and say merge, we're gonna have everything mounted here, and it works pretty fine. If we take a look at the passes, we're gonna see a slight problem here. We see that the pass, the normal pass, it has just got the information of the B arrow. So what about the A? If we want to do that, the best way is just to say, okay, I want to merge the RGB and also merge all the channels. And in this case, you see the spaceship here, and you get the information added for all the channels. If we take a look at the set depth, we might have a problem here because the set of the ship was somehow not good. The other one was pretty cool, but when rendering this, you might find some problems with the objects on the background. So what I'm gonna do is just say in this merge, use the mask created by the first the front image. So as you can see, my set is perfectly constructed, and I have my channels here. So just make sure, if you're merging channels, merging images with EXRs, to merge the channels. So I've got this, and I would like to make some kind of preset that I could use for every single thing I do in my studio. What could we do? In fact, if we look at this, we're gonna have some problems with this kind of names. This is really annoying, because this, if I do another render, it would probably have a different name. So it's better just to change the names of these layers. And how can we change those names? It's pretty straightforward. For big studios, they normally tend to unify and use a small Python script that says, okay, which is the channel, what's the name you want for it. I'll do it manually this time because it's pretty easy, and you have to understand perfectly what we're doing. So what will happen if I grabbed a copy node with the K key, the hotkey, pressing the K, I get this, and I'm gonna say, okay, I want to stick to this image, further information. Brought by who? By the same one. Let's just separate this. And what information do I want to plug in the A? I want to say, for example, that I want my extra text, which is the ambient occlusion. Let's say the three of them, red, green, and blue. I want to change them to a name which I consider is better. For example, I could say this is going to change for new nodes, a new name which is going to be called, so you write the name of the layer, point, and then you can write, for example, red, green, and blue. If you want this to be 3 of the channels, create new layer, yes. I'll do the same thing, but saying this is gonna be the AO point green, and this one is gonna be the EAO point dot blue. Cool. So if I now take a look at this, what's going on with the AO pass? It has the information I want. Cool, perfect. So what I could do is repeat this. For example, I'm gonna do another copy node, doing the same stuff, back again, and say I'm gonna copy another one. For example, I tend to give the names for the passes which I use in my studio. So if I come here, I can say let's send the normal world, the 3 passes of the normal world. I'm going to create a new name which is going to be called, for example, world normals point red, create new layer, yes, new channel, world normal point green, new channel, world normals point blue. Cool. This can be done with single layer channels, single channel layers. Also, for example, I could say I would like to copy the channel called depth point set and rename it as, for example, let's say just set point set. This is just because I prefer to use always the same names, and this is better for me. I can read it easily. So right now we're having a problem here, not a big one, but it can be quite annoying. If we take a look at these nodes we've created new nodes, but the other ones, the ones we had, are still there, and they're pretty useless and they can be confusing. And even worse, we don't want to load up Nuke having to read these nodes to check for the information. So what we could do is just use the remove node, and this node is going to say, okay, what do you want to remove? And I can say channels none, and now I can say, okay, I want to remove, for example, the strange name pass and my normal world pass and my depth pass. So now if I check the information, I've got my RGB, I've got my alpha pass, ambient occlusion, the passes of the lights, reflections, self-illuminations, set, word normals, named perfectly as I prefer to have them. So this is pretty cool, because we've just done this, we've renamed this. Okay, at this point it would be the perfect moment to grab this image, and probably after doing this, this is the 32-bit per channel image. So each one of these has 32-bit per channel, which means it has a lot of information. It's going to take a while. So if I'm going to do something such as, for example, just do a color space node, saying this was done in 2.2, or probably just for the sake of the tutorial I'm gonna use 1.8. Yeah, it could be fine. Sorry, I'm gonna do a custom one. I prefer to do a custom one. Let's say just a color correction for the RGBA, pulling down here. It would be fine. And in this moment we have all the information, the color information in 32 bits. So this would be a cool moment just to do some general color correction, especially with these points. But well, no, basically why? Because right now what I'm gonna do is just create here a write node. This write node is going to write the information in a file, which is gonna be located in the same place. For example, let's say EXR workflow, version 1, and it's going to be the composed one. But if you take a look here, we just have this node. Why? Because this right node is losing the rest of the channels. We have to say, okay, we want to export all the channels. And here would be a cool moment just to say that that type could be converted to 16-bit per channel. So we can reduce enormously the weight of this image. So if I now render this, what I'm gonna have is just one single image instead of two, which has the information of the passes in 16-bit. It would be fine for this one, and we can work right now with this new image. So if I grab this and rename this for the composed, if we take a look at this, we could forget everything here. We could just say, okay, I'm finished with you. Let's just make a bad drop and step 1. So now I know that after this I'll just start the next step from a single file or a single sequence with the minimum information required, which has the passes I need, renamed as I want. So we can move on to the next step, which is mainly working with EXRs.